All right, there we go. Okay. You good to just start now?
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Sideline. My name is Rishi Oza,
My name's Asher Hire.
and we are going to be going through our conference finals predictions. Nuggets Lakers starts today in a little less than 2 hours. Miami Boston will go tomorrow. We didn't really talk about Nuggets Phoenix, that series all that much after probably game two. But I mean, what were your thoughts on that? What were your thoughts on how that went? On how that series concluded after we watched Game 4.
Yeah, so after we watched game 4, after we talked about game 2.
I guess after we talked about Game 2.
Yeah. I guess just like the Nuggets seem like they pretty much dominated the series. I know the Suns got their 2 at home, but that took 2 legendary performances by Booker at home to really like squeak by the Nuggets both games. The Nuggets had leads in both of them, so yeah, the Suns come back 2-2, but then you kind of really see like how the series truly kind of shaped out in game 5 wasn't really ever close, and then obviously game 6 was just a complete blowout. And so like it was a pretty good series, especially Aaron Gordon's defense against Kevin Durant stood
Yeah.
out to me. Like other than Jokic's amazing offensive series, like probably Aaron Gordon's defense on Kevin Durant was like the second most impressive thing in that series. He held KD to like I think 39% shooting. And Durant, one of the most efficient scorers ever. To hold a guy like that who can shoot over anybody. And Gordon using his athleticism and wingspan to really bother those shots. That was really impressive. And I think it bodes well for, I don't know why people really aren't talking about the Aaron Gordon LeBron James matchup. Like if AG
Yeah.
can shut down KD, I think he can shut down LeBron, and Gordon has had history against LeBron and has had good history against LeBron. I believe like I saw this picture, it's pretty old, but that like LeBron James shot the worst percentage against Aaron
Yeah.
Gordon, like active players. That was like 3 years ago. And since then, I think LeBron's kind of fallen off driving towards the rim, and Gordon's defense has gotten better. So, I mean, I'm pretty confident in that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I like Aaron Gordon's probably the best defender that you could ask for on LeBron just because of how he's built. Like, he's such a versatile defender. I mean, the guy he's guarded this postseason, he's been a primary defender on Anthony Edwards. He's been a primary defender on Karl Anthony Towns. He's been the guy for Booker. He's been the guy for Durant. And now he's going to be for LeBron. I mean, that series. I mean, it ended in 6. It's one game away from being a winner take all. But Denver, every single win Denver had was, I think that their average margin of victory was 14 points or something. Like, it really wasn't that close. And I mean, we watched game 4 together, and like that was just Jokic's performance in that game was ridiculous. And the fact that they lost that game gave me a lot of confidence going forward. I was like, you play that game 10 more times, Denver's going to win 8 or 9 times out of 10, just because of the shot quality that they had, how good Jokic has looked in the playoffs so far. Like I was very that series. I think your prediction was Nuggets in 5, and honestly, it could have been Nuggets in 4 if Devin Booker doesn't have the 2 most efficient playoff games in NBA history, essentially, for a volume score. So I think mine was Nuggets in 6, Nuggets in 7. Like it was probably closer to Nuggets in 5, even though it was Nuggets. Like it really was not that close of a series. And then on the Eastern Conference side of things, we didn't really get to talk about the Embiid and 76ers collapse over the final 2 games against Boston. I'm going to say this. I think it's so funny how a majority of Nuggets fans were like spot on in their analysis on both the Jokic and Embiid parts. And every one of us was called wrong, stupid, the calculator boys, like, oh, you're not actually watching the games. Like, no, we are. you just don't know what you're watching. I think it's very funny that it took 2 full years for us to like be vindicated both in how the Nuggets play and both in how the Sixers play. And I think that that was like this is a perfect weekend of basketball for me. I don't have anything against the Sixers. Like they're fine franchise. It's just funny how it all worked out. I'm very happy with the way that the Eastern Conference
Yeah.
bracket turned out.
And like I can't really say that I'm surprised necessarily because like
Yeah. Yeah.
we've seen Embiid and we've seen Harden back in his Houston days just fold under pressure, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, it was just disgusting. 24 combined points from Harden and Embiid. Like I would think that 24 points by like one of those guys, you need more out of more than 24 points
Yeah.
out of both of
Yeah.
those guys individually, and to be combined for that, um, just terrible. I mean, like game 6 was really the the choke game, like
Yeah.
them choking away that lead and them choking away that Jason Tatum was like 1 of 10 at halftime. Maybe even worse, but
He started like over 11 or something. Like
yeah, it could have
he
even
was
been like 1
bad.
for 14. Um, but then he has that amazing fourth quarter, and from the fourth quarter to the end of game six, fourth quarter to the end of game 6, Jason Tatum outscored Embiid from the start of that fourth quarter through the end of game 7. So
Yeah.
in one quarter, Tatum outscores Embiid in a game and a quarter. So that was
Yeah.
pretty crazy. But yeah, like all these takes, it's funny, like all the takes, the new takes about Jokic, and Jokic is getting his respect now and stuff. And it's pretty clear that he's like the better player than Embiid, which is obviously what we've thought the entire time.
Mhm.
But like all the takes are like it feels like us like watching from a few years back. Um, like when Jokic was really starting to take off in 2020 and stuff before his MVPs, it was like, yeah, this guy's the best passing big man in the league. And like
Yeah.
now people are just starting to get that. And like he's probably the best passer in the league. And people are
Yeah.
starting
He's got a case for one of the best passers ever.
ever.
Like
Yeah.
I still see people saying like, oh, he's one of the best passing big men ever. Like, no, he has been the best passing big for like 5 years now. Like it hasn't been close
I know.
for a
It's
while.
always funny how they include like Arvydas Sabonis in there. Like Sabonis comes nowhere close to Jokic.
It's not close. Like Sabonis, it like their argument is, oh, we didn't see Sabonis in his prime in the NBA. Well, okay, that's the end of the argument. You just see it, so it didn't happen. Like that's the end of the
Yeah.
argument right there. You didn't see, you can't say. We're seeing what Jokic is doing right now, and like I think Sabonis is a phenomenal passer, but just watching his highlights, he does have a lot of similarities to what Jokic did, but. He like Jokic averaged a triple double. No big man is coming close. The only guy close is Wilt, and that's just because he
Yeah.
had the ball the entire time because everyone else on his team sucked. No one
I
else is
mean,
going to pass.
Sabonis averaged 2.1 assists for his career. 2.1. Jokic is at 10 this year. Like,
Yeah,
it's not close.
it's really like I'm glad that people are starting to finally like it's 3 years behind on the Jokic discourse, which is insane. I will get into it more when we talk about Lakers Nuggets and our breakdown of that and our predictions. But we'll start with Heat with Heat Celtics. Obviously, rematch of the bubble conference finals, which everyone's talking about because Lakers Nuggets is the same, but it's a rematch of last year's conference finals, which I think is more applicable to now because this Heat team is like essentially the exact same. They're just missing PJ Tucker. Like otherwise, it's the exact same team. And the Celtics team has added a few pieces. They've added Malcolm Brogdon, who's been great. Derek White's been a lot better. Like this is interesting to me because like Miami hasn't been playing like an 8 seed. Like they lost to Atlanta in the playing game. That was like the worst I'd seen them play all year. And then they beat Chicago. Jimmy Butler has an incredible Milwaukee series, and then it wasn't Jimmy Butler who really beat them, who beat New York. It was a full team effort. Bam Adebayo had a phenomenal series. Sorry, that's phenomenal series. Kyle Lowry has been great in the playoffs, which is a complete like level. I didn't know he still had this type of performance in him. Kevin Love's been great. Caleb Martin, I think Caleb. I still don't know which one's on Miami. Like
Yeah, Caleb. It's either Caleb or
it's Caleb or Cody. I don't
Cody.
know.
Yeah, I don't know which one.
They look the exact same.
I know. I
Like,
actually don't know
I
who it is. I think they both played on the Hornets at one time. And
yeah,
then
they're both on
since
the
then they
Hornets.
like split, but I don't know which one. Okay,
I,
so
hold on. Let me, I feel like I
Caleb, it's
need to
Caleb.
know this.
Cody is still on the Hornets.
Cody's, so it's Caleb.
Yeah.
Okay, so Caleb Martin, he's been phenomenal. He's been shooting the three really, really well. Duncan Robinson is getting his spot in the rotation, has been playing great. Like this team is legit. This team is very similar to the team that was the one seed and was, one shot away from going to the finals last year. What's your assessment? What do you think? Because I think Boston's a better team than what last year, but I also think Miami's just on a roll right now.
Yeah. And I mean like Max Strus has been playing well too in the starting
Mhm.
lineup. Um, but I mean, yeah, I think the Celtics have gotten better like on paper, but is I don't they really didn't look that good um in the Philly series, and it just feels like they're always like due to lose like two games, especially against the Heat, who are just tough and they'll always be in every single game. Like they led the league in most clutch games played in the regular season.
Yeah.
Um, and you saw it last year go into seven. Like the Heat won three of those games, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat won two and made this game six, and game six is at Miami. Maybe they win that and it ends up being game seven again. Like I would not be surprised to see that. I don't think Miami wins the series, but Boston in 6 or 7 is where I'm leaning. I don't think it's going to be a short one.
No, definitely. I mean, the way that Miami plays, like I feel like we knew that even against Milwaukee, if they weren't going to win that, so they were going to make it tough. I didn't think really anyone thought they were going to win in 5, and even if they did, it was some delusional Miami fan was like, "Oh, they're going to win in 7." It's just again the game 7 with Jimmy Butler, but it's like they just make it tough. They're so hard to beat because they just make everything tough for you. Like they will completely neutralize your best player. They'll completely neutralize your strengths and make you go to your option B, C, D instead of plan A, which is something that Eric Spoelstra has just been so good at. And like, I feel like with how many coaches have been fired, Eric Spoelstra might be like consensus best coach in the NBA right now with how good that he has been in these playoffs with neutralizing guys like, I mean, Julius Randle's not that hard to neutralize, but he did a horrible series against Miami. Giannis didn't play that great, but Chris Middleton wasn't as effective as he normally is in the postseason. Like they have been doing such a good job at neutralizing their best threat. I'm probably with you. Like I probably think it's Boston in 6 or 7, but like there's not many players I would want in the playoffs over Jimmy Butler right now. And if you get into a game 7 with him in the exact same position that they were in last year, like it's going to be hard to stop that because he's playing on the rep and he was hurt in the last round. Like he sprained his ankle game 1 and he still put up like 26, 27 a game over the course of that series.
Yeah. But really, like, I wouldn't want to face game 7 Jason Tatum also. I mean, he's like he could be
That's
just
true.
tough because he's 3-0 and he had that 51-point game. I don't know how many points a game he's averaging, but I think it's in the 30s in game sevens. So I mean, he's playing at a really high level too. It seems like he's gained his confidence back. But
Mhm.
yeah, the Celtics just always seem to drop. I mean, even against the Hawks, they had a tough time putting the Hawks away.
Yeah.
They didn't look good in that series. It just feels like they always lose a couple games. Like they just have bad shooting nights. The Celtics can get so on fire like they did in game 7, where it's just like bang, 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 bang. They go like 8 for 10
Yeah.
from three in the first quarter or something like that. And then they finish out like near 50% from three for the game. But like they can also have those games where they're just bricking everything. And like seems like they have those
Yeah.
games, you know, 25% of the time. So
Yeah, and like they're still a really stupid team. Like that's what's like last year. I was so frustrated with watching them because they never made the right decision, and it shows in this. Like Jason Tatum had the most turnovers out of any player in NBA history in a playoff run last year. Like he did not play make properly. He's been a lot better this season. He's been a lot better in this postseason. Derek White's improvement has helped that. Marcus Smart has been a lot better. Malcolm Brogdon getting him has settled things down a lot. He's been closing over either Robert Williams or Al Horford or whoever isn't playing well, even Smart sometimes. So like that has helped them a lot, but they still play really dumb at times. Like they still don't attack the way that they should. They still don't do a lot of like in the first quarter of Game 7. It was really like I was so mad at Boston because I was like, They kept driving into the lane and they kept getting blocked every single time they went up for a layup in the first. It was ridiculous. I was like, drive and kick. Embiid is collapsing off of Horford every single time. And then it finally clicked for them and they kicked it out to Horford for a couple of threes. And then they started just getting easy layups, started getting easy threes because out of that it broke down. So like Joe Mazzulla as an X's and O's coach, I'm not really sure how great he is because they obviously lost Ime Udoka at the beginning of the season, but they also lost Will Hardy, who was their top assistant. He was
Yeah,
the guy
Missoula.
ahead of Mazzulla.
Yeah.
And using him is obviously like you lose two huge pieces of your bench or of your coaching staff. So I think that's gonna play a part in here. Like Eric Spoelstra has a huge advantage over Missoula as a head coach, and I think that's just gonna be the biggest thing. Like talent wise, Boston easily beats Miami. Like they are a better team on paper, but are they smarter? Is Joe Mazzulla going to outcoach Spoelstra in 4 games? I don't know. Like I genuinely do not know if he has that in him.
Yeah, it feels like Missoula like already used the like secret card or whatever that he could have played.
Yeah.
With changing out Derek White for Robert Williams in Game 6, and the Celtics going to win both those games. But like, other than that, I don't like. I think that's it for I think the Heat have seen everything that the Celtics would do.
Yeah.
After that adjustment, and like after that, there's nothing, that you can really adjust. You're not going to take out anyone else in that starting lineup. So like, the Heat will be prepared. Eric Spoelstra will definitely be prepared against Jason Tatum, second time going against him. Yeah.
No. They said a stat on the broadcast. I think it was Jaylen Brown's 7th Game 7, and he's like 25. Like that's ridiculous.
Well, like Jason Tatum is already like he's climbing up the leaderboards for like most career playoff points. And he's so young, but they've been to the playoffs so many times. Like 2018
and they make deep runs every single time.
Yeah, like 2018 against LeBron, that was like so long ago. And Tatum and Brown were playing heavy minutes in that series. It's crazy.
Yeah, like Jaylen Brown made the Eastern Conference Finals his first 2 seasons. Then they lose to Milwaukee in 2019. 2020, they're back in the conference finals. 2021, Jaylen Brown's injured, losing the first round. Last year, they go to the finals. This year, they're back in the conference finals. Like this run of success for Boston since acquiring Tatum and Brown has been ridiculous. And there's been so much roster turnover. Like so many guys on that team weren't there at the beginning. Like Al Horford left and then came back, and they're still the exact same machine that they were to start. So like that's such an underrated story. Like I feel like fans, I mean, I understand why, but fans take for granted just like continued success and continued deep playoff runs. Like us as Nuggets fans, we're probably not going to experience this level of success that we have seen over the past 5 years for another like 20, 25 years after this window closes. Like, the 3 healthy playoff runs that this team has had, they've gone to Game 7 in the second round and conference finals the other 2 times. Like that doesn't happen that often. So I feel like fans definitely need to start like appreciating it. And I know it's hard because it's fans. No one's ever going to be rational, but I've tried to do that. Like it's just so crazy how you get lost in the success, even then when you look back on it, it's like, yeah, that definitely shouldn't have. Us as Broncos fans have definitely like that run from 2012 to 2016. You're like, oh my god, this is so great. And since then, you're like, I would give my firstborn to experience half the joy I felt.
Rockies fans too. We definitely know from Rockies experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so Boston 6 or 7 for you, Boston 6 or 7 for me. I think it's like Miami's they're gonna have to shut down one of Brown or Tatum. And I think Jaylen Brown has improved so much since last season. Like his shot making this playoffs is ridiculous. He's shooting like 47% from 3 in the playoffs is ridiculous. So they're gonna have to make one of those 2 have a really bad series if they have a chance to win it, which they can do because they're an incredible defensive team, but it'll definitely be interesting. And I'm excited. That's going to be a really fun series. Like the Eastern Conference series are so much different than the West because the West is full offense and the East is full defense. But the East, it's still so fun to watch because when it comes down to crunch time, it's like who can go get a bucket, and there's always some guy on the team who can do it. Like Tatum, Brown, Butler. Like those 3 guys are the guys who you want to get a bucket in that series, and it's going to be incredible to watch because every game's going to be close. Miami doesn't Nuggets, oh, that every game's gonna be right there, down to the wire.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
let's move to Nuggets Lakers. I have been thinking about this series for so everyone has been like there wouldn't be any other team that Denver could have faced. Like it had to be the Lakers.
I
It
know,
just had to be.
I know.
Like the history of the Nuggets franchise, it just had to be the Lakers. There's no other team that they play in the conference finals, and for them to have to get to the finals for the first time, they're gonna have to beat LA.
Yeah, they're
The
0 for
the
4,
fan
right?
in me, what was I saying?
They're 0 and 4, the Nuggets against the Lakers
Yeah.
in conference finals. Um, yeah, fifth time's the charm, I guess. Finally, hopefully. Yeah, but I'm so nervous.
Hopefully.
We're ticking down like hour and a half about. But yeah, I've been nervous for a while because
Yeah.
I feel like game one, I feel like is so important. I feel like no matter what happens in game one, I think the Nuggets win game two. Like whether it's the Lakers going up 1-0 and the Nuggets playing with desperation, and the Lakers have not played game twos well this series, this playoffs. They've won game one in every series and then lost game two in every series. And it seems like their energy just fades out the second game on the road, and especially
Yeah.
in altitude. I think the Nuggets will win that game, and if the Nuggets win game one, then I think they'll use that momentum and like win game two. So like, I think game two is a Nuggets win, but game one is going to be tough because the Lakers are fresh. Um, and they've just played well in game ones. And I said
Yeah.
like they've stolen game one in each series. So this and at Golden State, that's impressive considering Golden
Mhm.
State's home record. So they've shown that they can do it in super hostile environments. So yeah, this
Yeah.
game's very important.
Yeah. Game one's huge. It's just like Denver's been a great game one team. Lakers have also been a great game one team. Nuggets been a great game two team. Lakers have not. I agree with you there. I think Denver wins game two regardless. But I think there's three ways that this series can end. It's either Denver in five, which means they win the first two games and they steal one in LA, either game three, game four, and they close it out in game five. Or it's Lakers in six, where you go into LA tied 1-1, and it just follows the same script that the Lakers have had for the last two series. They win two games, lose game five, win game six. Or it's Denver in seven, where the home team just wins every single game.
Yeah,
The first two are fine. That last scenario is what scares me because if the home team wins every game going into game seven, LeBron James is quite literally the last player in the history of the sport that I would want to see in a game seven. I don't care if he's a million years old. I don't care if he's playing with one leg and both his arms tied behind his back. It is LeBron James. Like that is the last person on the planet I want to see in a game seven. And like the fan in me is thinking, look, they're a better team. They've been a better team than the Lakers the whole year. They play better than the Lakers have in the postseason. Jokic is the best player in the world. Majority of the time, you have the best player in the series, you're going to win that series. I think Denver can win in five, six at most, and you'll be done. But like the rational person in me is like, it's LeBron James. Like he's not going to lose in five games after how he's been playing, after how the Lakers have been playing in the post. Like it's so hard for my brain to think about this series. It's split into both extremes.
yeah, I know. No, I agree. I think LeBron definitely not who you want to face with all that experience too. Like, dude, like that would be very scary.
Yeah.
But anyways, kind of getting into the game a little bit. I think it'll be. I mean, obviously the Jokic AD matchup is like what is most advertised out there. Um, but he really hasn't played much against AD, even in the bubble. In that whole
Yeah.
series, I think Jokic was just like 9 for 17 against him. Because it was mostly Dwight, JaVale McGee, um, you know, fighting with Jokic. So like I don't really know what to expect. I mean, Jokic does another reason why game one is important because like Jokic does figure out defenders throughout a series, and maybe game one is he's most unfamiliar with AD, and how he'll try to guard Jokic. Um, and it'll be tough because he's got like if you want to pick one player to guard Jokic, it'd probably be Anthony Davis in the entire league because he's got
Mhm.
athleticism, the length. Um, Jokic, I think, can back him down, like strength wise. We saw that a little bit in the bubble. A couple of those shots. Because Jokic is probably playing at like 280, 290. I think Kat said he was like 300, but I don't think he was like
Yeah.
at 300. I would say he's like 290.
Mhm.
And Anthony Davis is like 230 something. Um, so I think that's an advantage. Jokic is the heaviest player on the court by like 40 pounds. Like
Yeah.
the Lakers' most heaviest player is Tristan Thompson at 250. Um, and then we can get into that, what Darvin Ham said about throwing different bodies at Jokic. But yeah,
Get right deep into
what do
that.
you think happens in the Jokic AD matchup?
Well, like I agree with you said. If there's a player that you want in the league to guard Jokic one-on-one, it's probably Anthony Davis. He has the length, he has the athleticism, and especially right now, the way that he's playing defensively is ridiculous. But majority of the way he's been playing defensively has been as a roamer, like how he did play
Yeah.
in the bubble, because he hasn't had to guard a guy one-on-one at all. Nobody on either team has anyone that's close to good as Jokic in post one-on-one. I think the only guy who he's really had to guard one-on-one has been Jaren Jackson. And Jaren Jackson's much more of a player to play, doesn't really have a post game yet. So there's still that element. Like we haven't seen Anthony Davis go one-on-one against Jokic. And like that's the other thing. Anthony Davis has looked fresh. He hasn't really gotten hurt, injured. Like he's had some nagging things that happens to everybody in the playoffs. It's just been overblown because it's Anthony Davis and he gets hurt all the time in the regular season. But like he hasn't had anything crazy serious. He had the concussion scare, but somehow avoided it. But Jokic is gonna keep him down. He's gonna bang with him. This is like I think this is where Denver wins it. Is if Jokic can tire Anthony Davis out. I don't think like Anthony Davis can tire Jokic out. No, Jokic doesn't get tired out. He's gonna tire the other guy out. If Anthony Davis in the altitude banging with Jokic every single play in the post on both ends, he's gonna get tired out. He has not proven that he's been able to do that throughout his entire career. And that's what I think Denver wins that matchup because Jokic is so well conditioned and he's so used to banging with other guys in the post. And then Davis is not. That's why he doesn't play the five. That's why he hated playing the five. So like he's bulked up and he's been better at it, but still he hasn't been the guy defending in the post. It's been Jared Vanderbilt or it's been LeBron. And I just think like the Lakers do not have anybody else to throw at him. Like they said they have a couple of guys like Tristan Thompson. Like no, Tristan Thompson is not going to do anything on Jokic. I understand. I put out a tweet like if we put Mo Bamba or Tristan Thompson on him for any possession, Denver's going to sweep because Jokic is going to score every single time.
I did see. Oh, what's this time left?
What? That's new. Are you kidding me? Oh my god.
Bro.
That's
There's 10 minutes left in the Zoom, but
walls.
was I just what was I what were we just talking about? What were you just
Tristan Thompson.
Oh yeah. Did you see the video of Jokic battling against Tristan Thompson and against the Celtics?
Yeah.
And Tristan Thompson made Jokic airball.
Yeah.
Funny, but no, like this Jokic, a different animal. This Tristan Thompson was just playing for ESPN, so like I don't think he's
Yeah, he was
that
playing.
good anymore.
There's a reason he wasn't on the team until 3 weeks ago. Like it's Tristan Thompson.
Yeah.
He's never been able to guard guys one-on-one in his career. He's also very undersized for a center. He's 6'9". Like Jokic has a good 3 inches and like 40 pounds on him. The strength difference is nothing. Like it's ridiculous. I don't understand the amount of bias you have to think to say that for 10 to 15 minutes, Tristan Thompson can just foul him and tire him out and just make him frustrated. It's like no, that he's not Dwight Howard. He's not that level of Dwight Howard was a 3-time defensive player of the year. He still had some defensive skill and athleticism to him. Tristan Thompson was sitting on his couch waiting for a call from LeBron 3 weeks ago. Like the only reason he's on the team is because of LeBron. Like that, no other team would have signed him. So it's just ridiculous. I'm legitimately shocked that people actually think that he can do that. And it looks like he's going to play. He was warming up the defensive drills pregame, and one of the assistant coaches was doing Sambor shuffles. So it looks like he's going to get a chance to guard Jokic. So like, I understand the thought because you need a big to guard him. You can't have Anthony Davis there the entire time. They know that. She's like thinking that Tristan Thompson can guard him is the bad part. Just going to throw him out there is one thing, but actually believing he can stop him is like he's not going to do anything.
I can't wait for the Tristan Thompson DeAndre Jordan matchup. Like the matchup of like 2015. But anyways, I think another interesting thing for the Lakers, we'll see if this was an adjustment they made starting Schroeder after putting Vanderbilt
Yeah.
on Curry. For I think the first was it the first 5 games, 4 or 5 games? They started Vanderbilt.
It was the first 5. Yeah, just for game 6, they changed it.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see like if Vanderbilt starts, he's on Murray. I would definitely assume if Schroeder starts, Schroeder's on Murray. So I mean, it's kind of similar with the Suns situation with them starting Okogie, and then Okogie kind of getting phased out, but then he kept starting like up until game 7. But Vanderbilt is very similar to Okogie. It probably is, a better like overall player and defender, definitely better rebounder. But he cannot make a corner three. He's one of the worst 3-point shooters. He really can't do anything offensively. Same with Okogie. So like, that worked out pretty well for the Nuggets. But if Schroeder starts, that's kind of like them, starting 3 guards in game 7. And, obviously makes the Nuggets defense against the Lakers harder. I think they should start Schroeder because if Vanderbilt does start, like I think a underrated part of I don't know if it's underrated, but like people aren't really talking about it is like how will the Lakers score against the Nuggets, because the Nuggets have been a fantastic defense against Booker and KD, who offensively is a better duo than AD and LeBron theoretically. And the Nuggets I think are number 2 in defensive rating behind the Lakers for the playoffs, and the Lakers offensive rating is maybe 7th or something. And so we'll see like how, because I'm not really like worried about any matchup with Gordon on LeBron, and then Anthony Davis, he holds himself back sometimes. Like he can have those 30-point games and then he has those games in the teens. So like you don't really know what you're getting out of him on a consistent level.
Yeah. I 100% like that. I think that's the adjustment for the Lakers that's going to make or break them. Like, I think if you start Vanderbilt, you're playing defensive, and you kind of have to play defensive because you're not going to beat Nuggets in a shootout. You're just not going to. The Nuggets are too good offensively, and I don't think the Lakers are good enough offensively to beat the Nuggets in a shootout. I think one team that had a chance was Phoenix, and we saw how that worked. Like in the games where both teams scored a lot, Denver won. So that's my like if they start Schroeder, they're going full offensive, but they might have to do that because if you start Vanderbilt, you have Michael Porter Jr. on him. He's not going to have to work defensively at all. He's not going to be able to be hunted defensively at all. He can come off the weak side and double on Anthony Davis, come off and double on LeBron James, and completely ignore Vanderbilt like he did Josh Okogie in the previous series. If you start Schroeder, you're forcing Porter to guard Reeves or D'Lo or Schroeder and force him to be part of the action and force him to do something defensively, which he's been good at, but he's been good, way better off ball and one-on-one instead of guarding pick and roll actions and having to rotate off of those. So I think they have to start Schroeder, but I think that plays in Denver's hands really, really well because you don't have the size on Murray, you don't have the length and paint to clog the passing lanes from Jokic. I think this has to be a huge Jamal Murray series. If that happens, he has to be at 27, 28 points a game if they have Dennis Schroeder on him. Like Schroeder's a good defender, but Jamal Murray has a size, he's got the weight, he's got the skill advantage over him. Schroeder cannot take advantage of that. Like Jamal Murray has to be the aggressor in that. I also think that's a big Mike Porter Jr. series as well if they don't start Vanderbilt because he's going to be guarded by D'Lo or Austin Reeves, and he's got a size advantage, he's got a strength advantage over all those guys. He's got to be able to make his open looks and work off of that because like if you allow Jokic to both score and pass, you're gonna lose. You're screwed. But if you turn him into one of the two, you'll have a chance. I think they're gonna make him a passer more than a scorer because they're gonna say someone else beat us other than Jokic and we'll have a chance, which is the right mentality. So
Yeah.
those guys have to be huge.
Yeah, another guy I'm looking at potentially is like Jeff Green, and then if not Jeff Green, maybe even Zeke Naji, because with the amount of foul trouble that Aaron Gordon got last series against
Mhm.
Phoenix, and the amount of foul calls that the Lakers get, rigged or not, whatever, they like led the free throw differential by like 300 free throws. And now they have the biggest free throw differential in these playoffs. So like whatever, they get fouled, and they go to the line, and Aaron Gordon fouls a lot. So like if Gordon is in foul trouble and Jeff Green comes in and he's getting out rebounded by and getting outscored by a team that scores in the paint and defends in the paint really well, um, then like could it be Zeke Naji time? Like if Jeff Green is struggling,
Mhm.
because he's struggled for a lot of those games in the Sun series. So we'll see if that happens. We'll see if DeAndre Jordan does truly come in, if the Nuggets are getting beat on the glass, if the Nuggets bench is getting beat on the glass,
Yeah.
and if the
Like
Lakers
if there's one thing that Tristan Thompson can do, it's rebound. Like he is still a very, very good rebounder, especially on the offensive end. That was what he made his name for in Cleveland. Like he is gonna do that if he does play. So I think DeAndre Jordan's definitely in play. Zeke Naji's definitely in play. That Nuggets bench is gonna be huge. Like Christian Brown's gonna have to defend guys really, really well. Bruce Brown's gonna be huge. He's been phenomenal in the playoffs so far. He's gonna have to keep that up. I guess we only have a minute and a half left. I don't know what this is
I know.
very new. Uh,
No, that's weird. I wonder if
but
we
we'll
can, like restart it, but
with
something
the
that
stream would end. That'd be the issue.
yeah. Um but I
Let's
want to
see.
talk about something for 1 minute, I guess the 1 minute that we have.
Yeah, we
Like
might be able to. We'll do more stuff. I guess we'll talk about like after game 2. We'll go into more if we want.
okay,
But
yeah. But
um,
anyways, like what if an adjustment that the Lakers make with Darvin Ham saying like they'll throw bodies at Jokic, what if the bodies like Rui Hachimura and they let AD roam like what he did, and what Philly did in that game where
mhm,
Embiid outplayed Jokic. Like Rui is really the only other big body. Like you're not going to put LeBron on him. That's too
mhm.
tiring. Tristan Thompson is not skilled enough. Jared Vanderbilt is not tall enough. Um,
Yeah,
Rui Hachimura, I guess, is the stocky, tall-ish guy, probably 6'9". So like that could be an option that the Lakers go to, and let AD help off the ball, and come over and disrupt Jokic shots, or get in the way of
yeah,
passing lanes. I think that could be a scary adjustment that the Lakers could make.
yeah. I still think Denver win. Like Jokic is still going to be able to. Like he has to be aggressive scoring in that situation, and I think.